So we finally meet GrogDev.
Yeah, this back and forth has been fun.
Yeah.
I
I
mean
feel
that
so
legitimately,
bad.
by the way.
Wait, what?
No,
Oh yeah,
no,
yeah, legitimately.
yeah.
I sense a mutual ADHD uh occurring. So uh
No, for sure.
like don't worry. I'm also very I'm very easygoing about these things, but I did want to make sure that I played your game before the deadline for the voting period. So I assume you want me, or it would be preferable to download this game.
Yeah, it's the only way to play it right now. I wanted to get HTML5 working for it, but I didn't have the capacity to get that done. I'd have had to troubleshoot that for a whole bunch of time and maybe not even get it working. So,
Yeah. All right, we'll extract that really quickly. So it looks like you are the only contributor listed. Are you a solo dev?
oh, whoops. So on the page, I should probably put that. I think I mentioned it's credited in the game and on the itch page, but not here, I guess.
Okay.
I was the primary person working on this. I did have somebody who did the music, and he helped with some code as well.
Okay, that's
Um,
tough-tacular.
yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, I was hoping to have a little bit of a bigger team, but it ended up being kind of uh, small and me centric a little bit.
Okay. So you mentioned that you are the primary code and artist. Did you want to like expand upon that role, like specifically, like what your specific duties were?
My duties were basically everything code related except for AI and some environmental stuff. So like the world gen, I'll call it, which is basically to say rendering trees and grass. And the UI system for the jam was handled by Toph.
Okay.
And then basically everything. Oh, and the music was handled by Toph, of course, and sound effects.
Hold
And
on. You
then
said
I was
the rendering system was handled by Toph.
yeah, exactly. Like
Uh.
the system that generates the floor and the trees, essentially. I had a
Okay.
basic implementation in, but it wasn't like infinite. He handled like the infinite gen of it.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Uh. Yeah. I don't know rendering very well, so having somebody specifically handling rendering is just like a foreign concept to me.
Yeah, well, sorry, I'm using rendering as like I'm making it sound more complex than it is. It's really not. It's just instead of placing tiles down in a room, I can even show you it in game. Actually, he just handled the system that like makes it so the ground follows the player.
Nice. Oh,
So
and
there's actually I left the debug options in the game. Actually, I don't think anybody's discovered them unless I've told them. But you can change the fog radius, and you can actually see how the ground works.
oh, nice.
But we can maybe wrap up with that.
I mean, maybe we can explore that if it's not too complex. But looks like you made
Yeah,
this in
pretty easy.
GameMaker.
Yeah, this was in GameMaker.
Nice. I know that we had Cyberwitch in here, and she was one of the few people that actually tried to implement Mode 7 the way that it actually works, and
Mm,
she made Witch Core,
interesting.
and uh, so I guess you have to handle rendering a bit more like hands on in that than in other engines, but I don't have a lot. Like I've worked in GameMaker before, but the only thing that I complain about is typically just like having to handle collision. I've never had to do 3D rendering in it, so it's very
I
interesting.
see. Yeah, yeah. No, GameMaker's super like probably the easiest language or easiest engine to pick up. I think out of any of them.
Mm.
The fact that I did this in 3D made things a little not really more tricky. The 3D was all a learning curve. I've never touched 3D before. I've never touched 3D in GameMaker before, so that was something I learned to do during this jam, and it wasn't too bad at all. But even then, the gameplay's all 2D. You could take away the 3D camera, and the game functions as a top-down
Oh,
Vampire Survivors game.
that's really cool. Uh,
Yeah, there's no heights. There's no height at all. It's all 2D.
Gotcha. So, how did your team get together, and like, what was the starting like process for the game jam for you?
Yeah, so the day before the jam, one of Sean from the coder from the previous game we just played, one of his our mutual friends messaged me and he's like, "Hey, are you doing the jam tomorrow?" And I'm like, "I haven't heard about any jam." So I found out the day before. The next day, I woke up and tried to form a team. Um, uh, Toph reached out to me on Twitter. We've been longtime game maker buddies,
Nice.
and he awesome musician. He's a what's the term, software dev, and like that's what he does anyways. So like it was a perfect fit. I was working with somebody else who unfortunately they didn't really have time, so they had to drop out as well. So it ended up just being us two.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so it was just kind of mutual contacts I've already had and worked with previously that I was working with.
Yeah. Yeah. Those connections are just very important. Like to be able to call on like that. Uh.
For
So.
sure, yeah.
Uh. So you got together, and what was your like thought process for coming up with your idea for Terror Survivors?
So initially, I just kind of wrote down ideas, like wrote down all of the things that came to my head in regards to the theme. Since
Mm-hmm.
it was a longer jam, I kind of wanted to throw away the first day. I didn't want to like start coding anything. I wanted to just think on everything,
Mm-hmm.
maybe do some basic project work setup. But so I just wrote stuff down. Ended up talking to at the time the two people who were considering working on the project. They both actually had commitments that week, so they were like, "Hey, I won't be able to help until a week from now." Um, so they were just helping me with brainstorming and ideas. The idea I ended up coming up with, the one that sat best with me, is I wanted to do what a lot of other games actually did, which was focus on like a dev mode
Mm-hmm.
where you could switch between. The idea was the reason why I went with first person in Game Maker was I wanted the gameplay to be first person mode, and then you'd switch to a dev mode where you could adjust enemy stats and change their behaviors. In a top down dev mode, you may be able to see invisible walls and
Mm.
adjust what's in treasure chests, things like that.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I caught some of this in your stream last time because I think I was asking you those questions as well.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, the other two team members, they wanted to go with like more of like a random mode selection, which at the time I didn't like because
Mm.
I couldn't like envision it. I couldn't think of it other than just pure random.
Right.
So after thinking on it, the idea of having it become cards and card based and not true random, like something you could actually influence the modes of the game,
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of thematically sunk in and the idea set in at that point.
Nice. Uh, I guess I haven't actually read the full description of your game yet, but it says this is an FPS bullet heaven survivor game. Avoid hordes of enemies as you collect XP and level up your spells. Fizzy starburst in orbit, all while you play cards from your tarot deck. Your drawn card will be played every minute and will change the game mode. Each card can be used only once, so choose wisely. Survive, get stronger, and eventually play the death card and attempt to overcome the ultimate obstacle. So, oh, Curly, actually, you might have been here earlier. Just drop your game, and I'll get to it. Sorry if I missed you earlier. Yes, very cool. Like, we talked about our mutual interest in tarot as just like a thematic thing. So I hesitate to say this is like I don't even know what I'm saying, like a deck builder thing, but like, essentially you just like have random cards and then you play them. Let me just make sure that I'm going over the controls correctly. Draw a card is left click or E. Cards activate on their own every minute. I've also never really played a survivor like, so this is probably like my first foray into it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you did all of the art. I definitely admire your all of your pixel art that I've seen.
Thank you, appreciate
very
that.
clean and aesthetic. Did you have any like specific influences in terms of like your pixel art, either for this game or just in general?
No, I honestly, I have like a lot of different pixel artists, obviously that I like, but like no, I don't think none that I could point out of like this is what I like kind of base my stuff off of. I use Twitter bookmarks like extensively, so if I see anything I like on Twitter, I just bookmark it, and now I have this like giant library of super inspirational pixel art for me that sometimes I'll just like browse through if I need to like get the juices flowing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Twitter is an amazing place to find artists, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Despite having like the least amount of quality of life for art, just out of any platform, just very bizarre.
Yeah, it just seems to be where artists and developers have settled, and hopefully something else gets figured out. But
yeah,
don't know what that is yet.
After Tumblr died, but activated dark mode. Okay, so these things automatically go. I was gonna say the music is pretty on point. I also noticed that you like myself. I don't know how you implemented it, but you also either use a procedural filter or a just a volume down when you go into the pause menu. Yeah, that's definitely also a filter.
Yeah, that was a filter. That was a Toast implementation as well. He absolutely nailed it with the music.
Nice. It's kind of rare for. I think it's been rare for me to see other people who actually. Hold on a second. To see like other developers who develop in tandem with other coders. I've never really been able to wrap my head around it. So I was just like, I wouldn't even know where to start with that. Like, I'd hardly know how to use GitHub. But were you just like bouncing this back and forth between each other? Did you have like separate branches for it?
We worked with one branch basically. We just kind of were letting each other know when we're working. Usually the few times where we worked simultaneoly, we were working on totally separate things. Like if he was coding, I'd usually just be doing pixel art. Not even just so that we were keeping things separate, but just it was easier for me to talk and do pixel art than it is for me to talk and do code while we're working. So we used we used Bitbucket and Source Trees for that. Yeah, I use source control on every project now, even if it's solo. It's just so effective. It's just so useful to be able to see all your updates and
I know,
not have to worry about stuff like that.
Nice. Hold on a second. How much design work did you do between you? Like, did you do a lot of discussion of it, or was it just kind of like you suggest things to each other kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely just suggesting each other kind of thing. Like I said, the main design, like the idea was to make it kind of more like a dungeon-based game, like with environmental stuff, and we realized that a survivor-like game, which is something I've actually wanted to make for a while, is going to be just a lot easier. But then beyond that, like when coming up with the ideas and stuff, it was all just like we all brainstorm mode ideas, and then we just picked the easiest ones that were to implement, and just one from there.
Yeah, I know.
It's round robin mostly.
I know. I'm killing Biggie the Frog. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of biggies though.
But no, they're each and all important individuals, and I'm ending their lives. Damn. Another question that I sometimes neglect to mention, but I think you said that you were fans of Donkey, right?
I was what? Sorry?
Fans of Donkey, just like as a streamer,
for sure.
Or not a streamer, just like a YouTube content creator. Yeah, I actually almost immediately after I heard about the game jam, which was not even through Donkey, it was just through my friends who had seen the big mode memo. I just stopped watching YouTube. I was just no, I gotta crunch for this thing. Activated track mode, very good. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is an interesting format. I have not. Is it intentional that everything is magnetized to me while I'm in this menu?
For the jam, it doesn't super matter, but it probably wouldn't behave like that in this. But yeah, you just gained a whole bunch of levels.
Hell yeah, and I didn't even have to do much for it, other than just.
You activated attract mode. You only have one of those cards though, so.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll do Orbit. Orbit sounds interesting. Bullet speed, starburst, fizzy.
Yeah, Jared, you got it exactly. Big mode, Doom, Vampire Survivors.
Nice.
Yeah, the color-coded weapon names was literally late the jam submission night edition, just to make it, because people don't know. In Vampire Survivors it explains what each of these items do, and I didn't have time to do that, so I wanted to kind of make these look a little bit more. I wanted them to stand out a little bit.
Right. That's another thing that I'd like to ask more people. Just well, first of all, how much time were you putting in per day on this? I think you mentioned your recent unemployment, and then just how you could just kind of zero in on it. Yeah,
so I got let go from my job a couple weeks before the jam started. It's a good thing, so no sympathies in chat or from anybody. I was super stressed there, so great timing. And I had a long form project I've been working on for a while that I want to get released, so I knew I was going to take some time to just actually focus on development. But at the same time, I also wanted to just get something out there, just like come up with an idea for a game that I could do relatively quick and just get it on Steam and sell it.
Hell yeah.
And then this happened, and I'm like, well, we'll see how this goes. And I actually really like the project, so I'm planning on rolling this forward as that project that I plan on, polishing up and releasing and getting out there. So yeah, it was actually really great timing overall for the jam.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because like I also had a lot of timing confluences that were very good for working on something like this. But absolutely, like getting yourself out there just in any capacity is extremely important. Game jams are just great for getting something done at all. Wish I had radar like Halo's motion detector that's below the clock. Where's the clock actually? Oh yeah, I see it. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was one of the additions that I'm like, this does need something like that, because in Vampire Survivors, you see the hordes of enemies enclosing around you. It's top down, you can see it all clearly. But
right.
This, it's first person.
Yeah, the first person.
I wasn't super happy with how the waves ended up working out, and like Circle Strafe ends up being the dominant strat. I've already kind of worked on things to improve that in the next version, but yeah, the radar is clutch for seeing even your shot patterns, as well as where the enemies are.
So you're thinking of tuning it so that circling and strafing is not the dominant strategy.
Well, in Vampire Survivors, the thing that happens commonly, and it's a big part of it, is there's essentially like damage checks where like you are surrounded by hordes of enemies and like constantly, like even if you kill them, there's gonna be more coming behind them. You can't really clear your way out of it. It's like, do you have enough DPS just to make them not touch you?
Right.
So like you can't avoid that with it. Like you wouldn't be able to do this strategy. But I couldn't really implement that until I had more options to deal with things behind you. Like I need more area of attack. So right now the only behind you attack you have is orbit, which is you can see those planets circling around you.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that attacks behind you. I have a couple new ones added since this release, but yeah, I couldn't really surround the player too much with this because I wouldn't really have an option of dealing with them.
Yeah, that might feel smart for spiking into orbit just because I thought it sounded fun.
Yeah, so as you played a little bit, I was kind of holding off on telling any strats. But yeah, in Vampire Survivors, presumably I think it's the most meta strat, and probably in most of these games, but like, the upgrades power up your weapons, so it's usually start to get a good array of weapons first. So in this game, they're not weapons, they're spells. In the gem, there's 3. There's Fizzy, which is the bubbles, Orbit, which is the planets, and Starburst, which is the shotgun in front of you. So you have like single target DPS, AoE in front of you, and then circular AoE.
Very cool.
That kind of lets you deal with different situations.
Hyper mode. I feel like I was saving this one because it sounded like it's something I should probably wait to come in clutch later. Let's go fire rate. I think fire rate is probably the most fun sounding. Jammer. So is the goal to essentially get to like expend all your cards and go to the death card? Because I think I read that somewhere, right?
You win when you defeat death. You can play death whenever you want and shoot your shot, sort of thing.
Okay. Cool.
I actually watched the first stream I watched play. Actually, second. It was Duck, the guy who made that rat.
Yeah, modded.
Game. Yeah.
I wanna get to that one, but I
want to play it again. I couldn't really figure out how to actually mod the enemies. Like I just mechanically couldn't figure out the controls. Unfortunately, it looks really cool. But he actually found a speedrun strat. So
cool.
Incidentally, just in making the game, I wasn't sure about how I didn't want to just be like lol wacky game modes. I wanted them to actually have like gameplay implications and have it be a little bit of a strategy. But there's only so much you can do in a jam period of time. But it ended up working out where there is like a strategy to cards. Like they have like their pros and cons. Like playing Attract early if you fall behind the XP curve can be good, but like Attract becomes more and more useful the later it goes because there's more XP on the table to summon to you, right?
Right, and I would imagine that wanting to play Jammer very early on is probably the meta strat.
Right, so exactly. So like cards like Dark and Jammer are kind of scary because it hamstrings you a little bit. So maybe you want to play them early, but there's cards that you can play early that get you ahead of the XP curve as well. So like, do you want to get rid of the strong cards, the scary cards first, or do you want to play cards that make you strong first so you get ahead of that curve? So there was actually interesting choices, including, like I said, like a 2-3 minute death strat.
Okay.
So I was pretty happy with how that turned out.
Also, yeah. While this is in the freeze frame, the balls do still go. So, and yeah, I also actually was subconsciously thinking Hulk Bernie Sanders, but you are Canadian. I'm not sure if that translates.
Yeah, no, it was just I wanted to make an orc, and I like doing sometimes like non-traditional. Like orcs don't need to be like, they don't need to have cool hair, or like they can just be big hulking old dudes.
Unrelated, but have you seen anything about Dungeon Meshi?
I have not, no.
Dungeon Meshi has incredibly good character design. It's like one of its best features, and the orcs in it are like bat themed, and they're like sick.
Real quick before I interrupt, you're probably gonna lose very quickly here. There was a bug in the jam. Death is supposed to spawn right in front of you, but he spawns right in front of you. I used the X coordinate twice, so he spawns like based off of your X and X coordinate, which doesn't make any sense. So he doesn't always appear near you.
It's essentially just in a random place.
Yeah, it's not random actually. It's but ultimately the best bet is just to stand still and let him come to you. You probably won't make it to that, spoilers, but
okay.
Sorry, continue on.
Yeah, I mean, doubling the X coordinate is essentially random. I have no fucking clue where that is.
Well, it's using like exactly. Like you'd have to know where your Y position or where your X. Like, yeah, exactly. It's effectively not where he should be.
Yeah. Let me just gather as much shit as I can, because I doubt that I'm gonna survive this based on your forewarnings.
So in Vampire Survivors, what happens is at the end of a run, which is typically 30 minutes per map, Death just comes and like he's on top of you immediately. There's nothing you can really do at the beginning to keep him off of you, and he just insta kills you.
Okay.
I didn't quite want that in this game, so what happens is Death very slowly drains your health.
Oh.
So even if you're not seeing him, he's getting you.
I see. It's just giving me the big suck from long distance. Unfortunate. There it is. Okay. We'll try it again.
So I'm actually curious here what's gonna happen, because I think there was a little bit of a bug with spawning after a restart, but we can give it a minute and see.
Okay. Don't want to do all of this stuff. We want something dumb like Jammer. The long big suck. Thank you, Curly. But yeah,
so do you want to, before we get on your second run, do you want any tips? I'm good with blind, I'm good with guided, whatever, it's your call.
I mean, this seems like a fun thing that I would sink a lot of time into, honestly. Bugs, you didn't have time to write lists or unit tests during the jam. Lamau.
Here's the thing. I'm not like a super technical programmer. I consider myself like decently knowledgeable game maker dev, but I don't still even really know what a unit test is.
Yeah, kind of same. I totally understand that. If you want to give me tips, then yeah, go for it.
So like at the beginning, like the XP curve is kind of like the biggest thing, right? Like more enemies are going to start spawning. So actually the first handful of enemies you killed, you kind of ran away from their XP.
Mm-hmm.
So you have XP on the table that you left behind in a sense. So now everything else will be a little bit harder to kill.
Right.
Yeah, like all that pile of XP over there.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll try to circle strafe a little bit here.
Yeah, the biggest thing is getting the XP. That's going to be the big thing.
Moving their corporeal forms off the husks of their comrades. Get the fuck away. It needs to absorb all these oranges.
Yeah, one thing I've learned in this, the skeletons start spawning in way too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's really the curve. I'm not happy with it. It's one of those things where, like, you know, when you're watching somebody play your game, like you want to watch them play blind,
right?
And see what you can learn from it. But also sometimes you've learned what you can learn from a lot of it. Like I know a lot of the mistakes that, like, I'm actively seeing mistakes already. No, not your mistakes, but mistakes that I've made. Where like, oh, the spawning is bad. So if you don't, like, if you don't get that XP, then you're not going to kill them, and then like you essentially have to use a card like Attract to get back ahead of the curve to catch up to that XP essentially, which is what happened last time. You kind of struggled in the early game, which is not due to you, it's due to me, and then you played that XP card, and then very suddenly you're like, oh, you're back in this.
Oh man, that is dense.
Yeah, exactly.
What does magnet do?
Increases the attract range of the XP, so it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I thought about using that because it's like, well, if this is the strat right now, I need to get the oranges, dude.
Yeah, the other big strat is always go weapons until you have all the weapons. Even then, the first level up of each weapon is always really good. So like, you know, taking Fizzy level 2, you start with Fizzy, so taking it once it gets you level 2, you get 2 shots of the bullets right off the bat. So that's like a double damage essentially.
Okay.
Whereas things like, you know, fire rate or damage actually can be good early because it gives you just enough damage to one-shot eyes.
Okay.
But yeah, it's usually recommended to get weapons, kind of flesh them out a bit, and then you can start getting the stat increases that will make those weapons start to shine more.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely useful. But it's like you said, like I would not have known that the skeletons were spawning too soon unless you told me.
Well, it's just like is what I see. It's such a painful thing. It's like, oh, you can't kill. You can barely kill the slimes, right? You don't have the DPS for the slimes, and now there's skeletons like blocking your damage from killing the slimes. So now you're just not getting XP at a good rate, which means you're super falling behind the curve, and it's not your fault. It's literally just like I'm cringing a little bit.
Yeah, don't worry about it, dude.
Fixed. It's fixed in the post game. I'm fine with that. I've already learned from this.
Oh fuck, I'm in big mode. Shit. Fuck.
Oh, those are big boys, yeah.
But I was gonna ask, was there any like technical difficulties that you had, that like any bugs that haunted you, any you know, like whack shit that you just like slammed your head in front or into over and over again?
Two big things I can point out too. Not necessarily. I actually feel like I had really good pacing for this jam. Obviously, I probably got caught up somewhere, but the two big challenges were I've never done 3D in GameMaker.
Right.
So I was watching YouTube tutorials figuring this out. Because there's this guy, he's actually a Godot tutorial maker now, named Heartbeast. He used to make GameMaker tutorials. And he had this one on how to do a really simple 3D camera, really simple, really simple. Here, let's get some more tips. Cheap or big, they spawn extra really weak enemies. So early game can be really good to get ahead of that XP curve.
Okay, I'll
go with Fizzy.
I'll spike into Fizzy.
Because that'll essentially double your damage, where damage will only give you 10% more damage.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now you get the 2 shots, now you can like double tap these guys.
Nice.
Yeah, so I found a tutorial that I checked out back in the day. It was really easy to set up, but it was for like a really old version of GameMaker at this point. It made me feel kind of old actually. But yeah, so I had to look, there's like updated tutorials by this other really smart GameMaker dev, and I just had to like learn so much to even do 3D stuff and figure out how depth sorting works and figure out there's an easier way to do depth sorting. But then,
right.
Yeah, it was a lot of learning with doing the 3D stuff. Most people who know GameMaker have made comments on this game like, oh damn, like 3D in GameMaker. Or some are like, I didn't even know you could in GameMaker.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the very least, you're using like billboard sprites. Like they're not really like you know, they're not polygons.
Yeah, I knew I didn't want to do that. I can do that. Like there is stuff I can do in this with GameMaker, but I'm like, I don't want to deal with that sort of thing. I'm just gonna go with flat sprites. I don't even want, you'll notice the trees don't even have collision. That's also a little bit of a nod to Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
The level design it's not about the level design. It's not at all about that.
Right. I have enough power to one-shot the eyes. That's good. We're making good time. I don't actually know where my health is.
It's at the very bottom left. It was a very late edition.
Oh, this. Okay. I almost thought it was like my XP bar, but that's the
I
top
know.
one.
So, yeah, that's I'm not the most happy with the UI ultimately in the game. The XP bar is it's at the top of the screen. It's a yellow bar that appears there. It's kind of small.
Yeah. I think it's pretty noticeable.
It's just an extra shot between an extra shot on all your guns.
Yeah, I was considering getting that actually. But what I was gonna say. Alright, Chi mode has activated. Gotta get the fucking oranges. Where is something silly like Chamber? Let's go. Fizzy was an extra bubble, right?
Orbit would be really good. So Fizzy, the first level always has a really good upgrade, but the second stage isn't always as good as the first. So like fleshing out your weapons is usually a good choice.
Okay. Now that I know that I can just phase through the trees, that's also useful. The skeletons do take a lot.
Yeah, so they're meant to spawn in as a boss. So the idea is that like, hey, a skeleton spawns in, he's a boss. He takes a while to kill, you kill him, you get a good amount of XP. And then eventually boss enemies start spawning in as normal. So that ogre spawns in at a good time, and then his additional spawns spawn at a good time. That's not true for the skeleton. He starts spawning in as like a normal wave enemy way too soon. I was adjusting waves like very late stage, like last day of gem, so that was tricky.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask like what you were working on right down to the wire. Like, what was the major challenges that you had? Because I think a lot of us worked right down to the very last hour. I submitted mine like 12 minutes before.
Oh dang!
What was plaguing you like before you submitted yours?
It goes hand in hand with always my biggest peeve, my biggest piece of advice. The biggest thing when making jam games is it's all about like people aren't gonna play it for long.
Yeah.
You're always too good at your own game, so make it playable. So the last thing I was doing was literally just editing and fleshing out wave patterns. And even knowing that, even aiming to make the waves easier, trying to balance it, I was adjusting XP levels, make maybe the player should move a little faster, get a little bit more XP. Making all these changes to make it easier, make it so that players aren't likely to bounce off from hitting these friction points.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was wave management, which was really not fun to test, because every time you make a change, it's a 10-minute timer to test, like, or you know, testing, see what spawns in at 8 minutes. That's 10 minutes of playing. I was like, oh god, this is so stressful.
Yeah. That's been a weird, like, I don't know if I want to call it a gimmick, but all of the devs that I've been playing with, particularly the ones with hard games that are kind of long, I'm just like, nah man, I'm not gonna bounce off this game. We're gonna see it to the end. And a lot of people have been appreciating that, because, you know, sometimes, like, it's not like you shouldn't make a long game for a game jam. Like something like this I could spend a lot of time in. Metal Mode was another big one.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, there was a very, very steep learning curve, but once I got the hang of it, I'm just like, oh man, I'm having a good time. And I will keep bringing up Split Screen, because Split Screen was like, and on like a somewhat related topic, like the worst thing a game can be is unremarkable, right? Like you just don't talk about it.
True.
Like,
yeah.
Just any sort of art form that you just is too boring to speak of.
Yeah.
And Split Screen gave me a lot of trouble, but I still spent 3.5 hours and I beat it.
Yeah, no, that's really good of you to play that. Like, it's nice to give these, because like it's nothing more tragic. That's why I always tout it as my biggest piece of advice. Like, you're not trying to make a hard game in a jam. Hard is not like very rarely should hard be what the thing you're aiming for is. So lower HP values, spawn more enemies, but have lower HP values.
Yeah,
you know,
you want people to experience
the player's hitbox very fair. Do all these things to make the player feel better, because they're not probably most people aren't going to be you. They're not going to play.
They're not going to master your game.
Right, exactly. So let them experience your game.
Yeah, you want to make sure that they get all the stuff that you put all of your hard work into.
Yeah, because I've seen it in real, like, in-person jams. I've seen it online. I've seen it on streams where somebody's like, oh, cool, and then they move on. And it's not that the game was bad. It just has, you know, it just wasn't the right focus necessarily. And it's just like, you know, you could have just pivoted changed some values essentially, and made it a little bit easier. And then suddenly people aren't bouncing off your game.
Also, there's 500 games. There's so many to get to.
Exactly.
I guess I'm a little bit discerning now, because I'm not counting on playing 500 games. I just can't.
Yeah, I did the math. People are like, oh, Donkey's gonna play
like
all the
80
games.
hours
Like, he
or
certainly
something.
isn't.
Yeah.
Do the math on 10 minutes per game. Do the math on 1 minute per game. It's not good.
That's why I was suspicious. That's why I was just like, oh, minimum 10 minutes? Well, then I have only 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I think I'll leave the questions to you, but I've said it a few times, but I've noticed a little bit of a bad... people, I think, are getting putting too much into the whole Donkey jam side of the things. Like, oh, I hope I get a job from this and like my game gets played, and it's like... everybody who's submitted, everybody who's participated has succeeded. You've learned so much just by participating. Like, you've already gotten the value out of the jam.
Right.
It's cool to dream and whatever, but like, it's, you know, I don't think it's going to be this big magical experience that a lot of people think it's going to be. But I hope it's still going to be cool. I hope a lot of games get played, but like, you know, I don't think they can play them all on stream. There's like 70-ish hours of games if you play them for 10 minutes each.
There was a lot of like vagueness about the terms. Ah, fuck! I fucking died. Let's go cheat mode, baby.
I don't actually know if I put God mode in this, but
it's in the deck.
The card's in the deck, but the actual dev God mode, because there is a button you can press that will open up the console that'll let you see the different options you have to you. But I don't know that if God mode was actually in the Jam version.
Okay. But yeah, I'm having fun. I wanted to ask, like, did you and your musician / coder friend, were you primarily the people playtesting this? Like, did you send this to other people?
Yeah, actually, thanks for reminding me of that. I've been working on a post-mortem this morning of trying to figure out what I did right, what I did wrong. I think one of the things I did wrong was I didn't get feedback. For a 2-week jam, that's like you have so much time to get feedback. So I should have set that up a system immediately and reached out to people. I've been doing that because I think that's really important for any jam, is testing often and early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just any game really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry, in any game, yes, absolutely. So I regret not doing that. I did not do that. It was basically just me and a little bit of Topher on this one.
I mean, what you have is like very competent, so it's not like you had a lot to worry about. But shit, did I activate cheat mode?
But you see the like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I think this game, I'm really proud of this. I'm really happy with this as a game as it stands right now. But okay. there's friction that I don't like. I don't like the skeletons, right? I would have, if I sent that to one other person, I would have saw that. But I didn't see that, so it got in the game, right?
Yeah.
So, and the game would have been, it wouldn't have had almost any friction points, I don't think. Like, that's the big one, is people having to resort to circle strafing and then not getting XP because it's hard, and then falling behind, and then the point of a Vampire Survivor game isn't to struggle, it's to start weak and very quickly get noticeably stronger, and then by the end become insanely overpowered.
Yeah.
And you're like, dang. But like, you're not overpowered enough to overcome the final challenge, so like, okay, let's do it again, because I can maximize this a bit more. And it's a little bit difficult for players to hit that without, you know, me giving tips, right?
Right.
Like I said, a big thing was my girlfriend played it once, actually, and I realized I had to make the items more, the weapons more fancy, because people were taking things that don't have good impact, right? Like, you know, it's like, oh, I want more damage, but it's like, no, you want more fizzy. Fizzy gives you way more damage, so
right.
I had to like, kind of push that. But
that's kind of like one of my things. I will typically gravitate towards utility and variety more than I do like specializing in a game like this.
Right.
So like more bullets might be nice. I don't know what Starburst does exactly, but I'll try it. It's orange.
So you actually have level 1 Starburst. That's the star shotgun you're shooting in front of you.
Nice.
So as you level up Starburst, you get more bullets, and each bullets get more hits. So eventually they can start hitting 2 enemies or 3 enemies or 4 enemies
before they like disappear.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it'll have like, every time it hits an enemy, it goes down by 1, and when it's 0, it gets destroyed. So yeah, you can hit 4 enemies, so you're now shooting 5 bullets that are hitting 4 enemies. You're now cleaving through waves, right?
Yeah.
But then you add damage on top of that once you get that strong. Or Orbit, you know, it starts spinning faster, hitting more enemies. It starts more things orbiting around you, right? Or Fizzy, you just start shooting constantly, and you're shooting like 6 bullets at a time, and it's just... And then once those things start to scale, the other upgrades start to really scale those.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I say, you can take Fizzy level 1 and get a second bullet, that's double damage. Or you can take damage, which is plus 10% damage.
Is there a way to heal, by the way? Just real quick.
Unfortunately not. That would have been something I would have liked to add. But right now it is essentially just a survival game. I should have just added passive HP regen, like just a little bit. I think actually Vampire Survivors just by default has a little bit of HP. But
okay.
I just didn't... I was feeling real good in the first half of the jam, and I started getting real stressed on the second half of the jam, and some of my systems that I try to have in place to keep me focused and organized and like on track for things that are important. I think I slipped in the second half of the jam, and that was a bit unfortunate. But...
Yeah, I mean, that's I'm right there with you. About a weekend, I was just like, I can't. This game will not get done if it's not spaghetti code.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, you know, you get sloppy. It's crunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not even like, it sucks because like I was working really good with like, I need to have systems in place for myself. You probably relate to this. This is an ADHD thing for me.
Right.
I need systems in my place to keep organized and focused and doing all this stuff. And that's actually why I'm writing the postmortem, because I got really stressed while working on the post-jam version yesterday. And I'm like, that shouldn't happen. Like, there should never get a point where I'm like feeling stressed about something that doesn't have a deadline or a time frame. And it's because whatever systems I have are failing. So I'm like, okay, let's go over what I did right and what I did wrong with the jam and like figure out some of this stuff. And I already feel a lot better now that I've gone through that, because it's like, yes, like these are things I need to do to make things work out well. Like I didn't have a Trello board for this jam, and it should have been the first thing I ever did. So I can start up each day, load up ADHD focus music, and just look at Trello and just be like, okay, here we go. And like I did that this morning, and I'm like, I feel better. I feel so much better. I can just like focus on the thing.
Yeah, it's rough because like sometimes it only takes a bare minimum threshold of like maintenance effort, and then it pays off in dividends like immediately. You know, like but sometimes you just can't get to that activation threshold. It's just there's something blocking you. There's like there's just an obligation that you need to get to first. You know, there's always something in front of it.
So what the real thing that did what I will refer to as emotional damage for me by the late stage of the jam was I was actually submitting my main project to PAX East, and I needed to make a video of like a 5 to 10 minute video on my game and telling what makes it special.
Pterosaurus.
And it was due. What's that?
This game. Or was it a different thing?
No, for my main project. It's called Brewbreaker Agnes.
Right.
When you're on stream. And it was due the same day. It was due the 15th. And having to do both, really, I got super burnt out. I got super stressed. Like it was not good. I needed to do that earlier. Like I left that. I could have done that months ago. But the thing is, I didn't think there would be a jam happening. I thought I could do it the weekend before, but it turns out, like things come up and you get stressed. So I was like, okay, I can't get into that position.
Yeah.
Like if I know I'm doing a jam, I need to do the other responsibility thing at the beginning of the jam when I'm not stressed about anything. So that really that caused me to lose focus. And then I get into this mode where I just work fast, and like ADD can be so super valuable for coding. Like it's like a superpower until it's like a detriment, essentially. Yeah. It's like I will use it to make rapid progress, but then like it gets bad, and then I have to like not rely on that and need systems to make it so I don't rely on it. Because otherwise I just keep working, and then I get stressed, and I'm like, why am I stressed? Oh yeah. It's because you've been just working.
Yeah, the hyperfixation, and sometimes like I feel like there's a difference between hyperfixation and simply just like having to put your head down and also hello Ethan, yes. Yeah. But like, you know what I mean? Like it's like you have to do this, it's not getting done unless you're doing it, and so you just you have to bear down on it and you have to focus. And when that like adrenaline starts pumping, it's just like, all right, this is my entire life. It is all consuming. It's not going like everything will take backseat to this one thing. At the very least, that's how it happens for me.
Yeah. So what the best way? It's basically that, but the part that makes that really damaging, because I don't mind hyperfixating on one thing and getting it done. The thing is, I will get that thing done, and I'm just feeling so good about getting it done and the improvements I made on the game. But I immediately those improvements that I've made are already, I've taken them for granted immediately. They're in source control, source tree. I like whatever. What's the next thing? Oh, I only see the new shitty things that I need to work on. I'm like, let's keep going. Let's do the next thing. I'm like, that never ends. The next thing never ends. So it ends when I get burnt out and stop. So I need to figure out the thing that makes me stop doing it first.
Yeah. Also, there's like there's a physical limitation to the human body, right?
Yeah.
Like I personally, I mean, I've done crunch before. I've spent a whole year in crunch, unfortunately. It's no good. I was working on an RPG Maker project, and the goal was to get it done by the end of every month, and that was a horrible model.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, like, learning that your body needs to rest. Like, I kind of was just like during this jam. I said I was like pulling 100-hour weeks. So as soon as I get tired, and as soon as I'm sleepy, and as soon as I'm like running up against something that should be simple but it's not, that's when I need to go to bed. Not any further after that. And I probably should have gone to bed much sooner. Like, but it's hard. It's hard to just like deactivate yourself from like making sure it gets done. Because you think like you think you can just burn the midnight oil further. You think you can just burn the candle at both ends more, and it never really shakes out that way. So
yeah, exactly.
So with the packs thing, like I typically load up on a lot of things. Like I have 3 billion fucking irons in the fire. I'm sure that's very familiar to you.
Yep.
And yeah, just like you got to learn to manage, and it's unfortunately just it's easier said than done. But no, like what you have here is like honestly, like it's like you said, people in the game maker community say that's very impressive that you even did 3D at all in Game Maker. So having all these systems, and even if the skeletons spawn too soon, don't beat yourself up too bad.
Yeah, no, I don't like. So I'm pretty healthy and responsible in that way. Like even that I don't crunch. I do crunch. I don't stay up like late. I'm like taking breaks. Like I'm going
familiar.
for walks. I'm eating. I do all this stuff like reasonably, because I've learned actually like that I've done the like abuse myself jams before, and I'm not willing to do that anymore.
Cool.
So it's not even like jam crunch. It's just like, this is a new thing and I'm hyped about it. It would have been the same thing if it wasn't a jam. It would have been if I got like a new, I don't know, a Lego kit, except Lego ends. If I got a new, here's a new piece of tech, it's like, oh hell yeah, let's dive into it. It would have been, it was like the new exciting thing, and it's fun and it's a hobby and you enjoy it until you realize that like you can ruin your life with fun hobbies and enjoy, like things you enjoy. Like, so you still need to take a break.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At least when you have ADHD, you need to take a break from things you enjoy, because you will just grind yourself to the ground with a thing you love, which is horrific in retrospect.
Yep.
So it's just like, I just need to stop working on this, because the one thing that kind of helped me get through to the end was maybe on the Tuesday, the Wednesday, I was like, I could compile the game right now, I could build the game, and I could submit it, and it's done. It would be fun. Like, it was totally playable, the game was here, the game loop, it looked good. Everything was here. Enough to play it with the theme, all of that. So I could have been done Tuesday and been happy. But there were still things I wanted to get done, and things you could always do more, and I did do more, of course. And it did, the things I did more did add to the game. But at this point, I don't even remember what those things were, which is kind of funny. But
yeah,
I was very
is there
happy to
anything
be
that
in
you
that
like?
position.
You felt like you were really close to implementing, but you just barely didn't have enough time?
Offhand, no. Like there's so many like little things that would have been like, okay, so it's one of the things where it just like hit the back burner, and then it wasn't on my focus radar, so it got lost. But I would have really liked to have descriptions. So like, what duration is, what damage is, like, how much percent is it actually, what do these increase, so people can make, yeah, exactly. People can make the educated decision and see that, oh shit, like Fizzy's really strong at this level. Oh, damage is probably really good now that I've got these things built out. Like, it kind of make those decisions just informed, I guess.
Yeah.
Health drops. Chickens were supposed to drop items that heal you. Well, chicken. I wish I could have fixed the death bug, but I kind of didn't really even think about the fact that I wasn't spawning in the normal spot every time, and I didn't really realize why. It was literally just changing an X to a Y. I think those are the three big things. Oh, and the spawn patterns. If I had one more day, it would have been all focused on spawning, and I could have fixed this.
The skeleton.
So yeah, those are the big things I'm a little bit sad about, and are already fixed in the post-release version, post-jam version.
Very cool. As a reminder for everybody, this is Terra Survivors by GrogDev here. Very cool, and he plans on like continuing development for it for a full release later. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm kind of curious, like, so I don't know if there's going to be a way to find death, right? Especially not in time to kill it.
Right, so the easiest way is to not move too far away from the starting X and Y position.
Yeah,
the further
exactly.
you go, I think from the Y position, but I don't even know what is the Y position on this map in this orientation.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all about healthy. As long as you're healthy. Okay, because here's another tip. If you're healthy, you can survive long enough to play one more card, and that one more card can be God. So I don't know what the health threshold is for that, but if you're at like, I think even 75%, I think you can survive for like 60 seconds.
It's a little difficult. I mean, like circle strafing does obviously lend itself to staying in one place, but I'm not sure if I'll be
Yeah.
able to stay in that one area long
No,
enough to get to
I
that.
don't think it's a good strategy. Like I said, I think the biggest way to kill death is you want to get, you want to stay healthy enough. If you want, I can tell you the speedrun strat if you want to actually try and see how that works out.
Oh yeah, I do want to see death.
Okay, so the trick, it's really simple. Beeg, the card you're about to play, spawns. I wouldn't do it on this run. I'd do it on the next one. It spawns Beeg Donkey, and
Okay.
Big Donkey drops a shit ton of XP. Actually, you can see him. Actually, he's right there. He drops a shit ton of XP, but he's hard to kill. But Death, when he spawns, he kills everything. He doesn't destroy everything. He kills everything, and everything that's killed drops XP.
Okay.
So he will one-shot Big Donkey that you're not strong enough to kill when you spawn him as the first card.
Mm-hmm.
But Death will kill him. You get that. You get a shit ton of XP. You're pretty healthy, and you are strong enough to do okay damage to him with that XP, and you're healthy enough to make it to play God mode.
Okay.
So you basically play Big Death God.
Okay, Big Death God. Cool. The
Yeah.
Big Death God strat.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think this is going to be the run for that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but we'll play this out, see how it goes. But what I wanted to say is like, so obviously there's the donkey related things. Did you have any visual inspirations for the other enemies in the game? Did you have like funny names for them? Did you refer to them in specific terms with your teammate?
No, not really. Okay, so actually, fun fact about some of the enemies. It explains maybe the Lego Man, which people are like, what?
Right.
Lego Man was the test sprite I was
something.
using for this, and I actually really like testing with it because when that's the only enemy you have in the game, when you're getting swarmed by like 100 of these creepy ass Lego dudes coming out of the dark,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was really creepy and really funny. I really liked it. But I was actually doing them as sub incentives on my stream where I would make essentially RPG style front view monster sprites. And I was gonna do like a little like RPG mini monster battle for these sprites at the end of each month. But I'm like, wait, if I'm making a billboard type game, I can put the viewer sprites into this game. So the skeleton was one of my viewers' OC character he has. One of
Nice.
the people really likes Lego Men, so he gave me that as a reference. And then the other one was the little creatures that spawn late. They're like these little hooded, glowy eye creatures. I used them in essentially as like these little extra sprites. So that was a fun way to incorporate that while I was streaming the game.
Very nice. If I was a regular viewer of yours, I might have submitted my own.
Well, I appreciate that. I do know. I actually didn't participate in the community at all until I was done, and that's another regret. I wish I was more involved in the Discord and stuff during it. But
yeah, sorry, I just got like kind of swarmed away from the spawn point, and I'm trying to make my way back.
yeah, it feels so much better in the new version where Death just spawns just outside of the shadows and just immediately comes towards you. It's like it feels good.
Very good. We love it when your very cinematic thing is nailed.
Yeah, exactly. Very cinematic. My flat billboard sprite.
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, like spawning on the edge of the shadows, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy with how the shadows work. I need to make it. Okay, so we got big mode. Okay, so
And we go.
you're not gonna be able to kill him.
I will not.
So here's the thing with Death, it almost doesn't even matter. Well, collecting XP is still good because it'll save you time, but yeah, getting the weapons will be really good. But it won't really matter because you'll probably get a lot of XP. You'll get a lot of XP.
Okay.
The main thing is keeping track of where Big is so you don't lose his XP.
I think he's right on my tail, so I'm just gonna assume that's gonna be the case.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Man, orbit just increases the speed, does it?
No, it'll give you more
orbit.
planets
Cool.
in the chain and more speed. I can actually load it. I don't even fully remember what they do, but let me load them up.
Okay. Also.
Yeah, I referenced. Sorry, I'll let you finish that thought real quick.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, like, did you? So, I didn't actually know like what the cards were. I just knew that the game was called Tarot Survivors.
Right.
So not all of these are tarot cards, obviously.
Yeah. So actually, one thing that it works really well because a few people mention that they're not actually tarot cards, and I'm like, here's the funny thing about Vampire Survivors: there's not a single vampire in that game.
Oh, that is funny.
It's a joke. It's like there's no actual vampires. To my knowledge. Okay, so go get that XP.
Also, yes,
And,
Jess Symphony, welcome to my stream. I have actually been streaming for 11.5 hours. Sorry, continue. I'm getting the XP.
Yeah, okay. So death is in front of you right now. And yeah, I would focus the weapons probably.
Starburst.
But you're gonna be clicking a lot of level up, so don't focus too much on it.
Okay.
Like you're gonna maybe be the highest level you've gotten.
Oh, cool. Goodness me, hope everyone's doing good. Yeah, we're playing Terror Survivors by GrogDev here. He's giving me the strats on how to kill death itself. And it involves slaying Donkey on the spot. So
okay. I'm gonna let you know what the levels up on Orbit do. So the first level on Orbit gives you an extra bullet and bullet speed.
Okay.
The next one gives you rate of fire and makes the bullets stay out longer. Then the next one is lifetime again, so it makes them stay out longer, and then plus 10 damage, which is basically double the starting damage. And then it repeats through that once more. So shots and bullet speed, and the rate of fire, lifetime, then lifetime and damage.
This
so
almost sounds like a level up tree.
3, yeah. It basically I actually took a lot of. I'm like, Vampire Survivors has balanced itself already. I'm just gonna how do they handle their upgrades? Okay, they have 3 upgrades and they cycle through them, and it makes it so I don't have to come up with 8 unique upgrades for each level up. So I simplified the weapons that way, and I'm like, okay, this works really well, and it makes them feel really strong. And I noticed Vampire Survivors also makes the first level, so going from level 1 to level 2, always feel really nice. So it makes you doubt yourself on whether you should take a second weapon or upgrade your current weapon to 1 more level. And that feels really good too, because it's like, do you get an extra fizzy shot or an entirely new weapon?
Right.
So here I'd be either doing damage or orbit, but
damage or
I'll
orbit.
leave it to you.
I feel like orbit is probably going to be less important because I'm only fighting one thing, right?
It like I said, it'll make it do more damage, more bullets, and it'll make it spin faster, so each one is hitting death more often.
But I probably don't want to be close to death enough for orbit to hit it, right?
You can be. I'd recommend it. You probably won't kill it without hitting it with orbit, I think.
Okay. Then I'll get that. So damage I haven't gotten. Starburst is level 1, so I feel like damage.
So always
right?
level 1 to level 2 is always really strong.
Level 1 to 2 is always really strong.
What does this one do?
But yeah, next up we have Curly 26. Once we figure out death here, I feel like I haven't asked you enough things actually, but you have been very comprehensive with your descriptions, so maybe that wasn't.
Yeah, I feel like it works. It's been low-key conversational anyways, so
yeah, hell yeah.
I think it works just fine.
Okay. So, GrogDev is here, is looking up whether or not Starburst is the.
Oh, I would take Starburst, but
okay.
Okay, so
because I haven't
the first one
into
increases
damage,
its shots, then rate of fire, then damage. Shots, rate of fire, damage.
Shots, rate of fire,
Wait,
damage.
Is this for that? No, that's for bubble. I'm done. What is this weapon? Gravitation. What is this weapon? I'm like lost in my code. Yeah, don't worry too much about what I'm doing. I would do weapons. The weapons are always good.
Okay. Orbit level 3, so shots, weapon damage. Right now, shots, rate of fire, damage. So orbit level 4 would be an extra bullet, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, and then fizzy level 4 would also be an extra bullet. Starburst level 3, I guess I can do that.
Like I said, you're probably gonna get I wouldn't worry too much about it because you're gonna get a good chunk of levels, I think.
Okay, let me just go ahead and spam the fucking. Oh, there's death. Hello, death. Give me a tract. Give me a tract. Give me a tract. Oh god.
So if you hover God mode, I don't know if you'll need it, but so yeah, make sure you're in range enough to hit, because he's gonna drain you no matter what. So you can be close, you'll stun him a little bit, and keep those orbits in.
Okay, very cool, very cool.
I think you'll probably have enough use to kill him.
This is looking really pretty good. The circle strafe is very strong. That feel of when you'll never be hounded by this. That's grasping
I
paws.
think Orbit might be slightly out of range. I think you might need to move it in a little.
Yeah, I'm just scared. You know, being faced with mortality and all.
Oh god, the time I'm looking at so you can see the yellow bar next to God. It's about to activate.
Activated
Your
God,
health is
winner.
also about to drop. Okay, you got it. Cool. And you can get he gives you a lot of levels up. So
oh, cool.
There's nothing else that spawns, but I really wish I could have made it endless after you kill death, and then I know you have a lot of XP, so I could have just made it really mindless and just spawn a ton of weak enemies.
Yeah.
That's another regret I had, but I would have never thought of that. The winner screen was very. I spent a lot of time on writing the text "winner" in the center of the screen. I'm joking, but it was a very late addition as well, making an actual like win and lose condition.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wanted to at least make that clear that is it. You've beaten it.
Hell yeah.
And instead of making it endless, like or like 30 minutes, like Vampire Survivors, I'm like, hey, let's make it each card 1 minute. If you have 10 or 11 cards, it's going to be a 10 or 11 minute runs.
What does this say? Bullet what?
I think that's just bullet. I think that's probably just bullet plus. Wait, I actually don't know.
It's bullet something.
Oh, bullet speed.
Okay, bullet speed. I want to see.
Actually, you can probably just click through everything. I think you'll get pretty well everything.
Really?
With death, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Well, let me do something.
But you've gained a lot of XP from death.
Okay, very cool. I just want to like have all the funniest shit so that I can like fire rate.
Yeah. See how far it goes.
Okay, there it goes.
And then so I've already okay, not crazy. Okay, there you go.
I do like this. I do like the endless fizzy bubble.
Yeah, it starts to feel really good where it's just like each shot fires like 5 or 6 bullets, but then by the time you're done firing those 5 or 6 bullets, you're already firing the next set. Same with, I think, Orbit. I think if you get your cooldown low enough, you can technically, by the time the first Orbit has ended, another one is already appearing.
Hell yeah.
But it's essentially always up now.
I believe I asked this in your stream the last time I was there, but have you played Risk of Rain?
A Game Maker game, by the way. Yeah. Not really.
Man. Well, it's similarly about like stacking on so much ridiculous bullshit that you feel extremely powerful.
Honestly, I should check it out.
Risk of Rain 2, I've sunk like 300 hours or something into. Well, maybe not that many.
Yeah, I know. I had a friend who really liked that too, but I assume it wasn't Game Maker. I'm like, I'm not playing that one. No, I'm kidding.
I recommend if you ever do pick it up, the stupid meme strat that I like to do, especially when I'm playing with my friends. I call the fast dog strat. There's a quadrupedal character you can unlock named Acrid, and I literally just spec all of my abilities into move speed. So you just hear this rapid pattering of her feet as she's like rapidly skittering towards everything, and you just ramp off everything.
That's cool.
But anyway, that's my Risk of Rain tangent.
Do you want to see some debug stuff real quick?
Sure. How do I do that?
Press F3.
F3. Ah.
You have to press some weird. Okay. So this stream here. Let me see if I can turn up the quality on the stream. For some reason,
Play
it's
card, damage player, show mask.
Okay. So the ones you can do. I want you to turn the fog. Okay, you did adjust the fog. So click resume for a sec.
Resume.
Or just click resume in the middle on the main menu. So you can see how the floor works, right? It's just essentially always just rendering out that square in front of you, but the fog covers that. Okay. Here's what you can do. There's a tracked XP, so you can give yourself XP there if you want. You could also check spawn enabled, and if you want, you can spawn a shit ton of enemies and test out the killing power.
Yeah, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's also spec into Fast Dog. I'm going to skitter across this map, and you can't stop me.
You can even see the speed slider going up on the bottom left of the debug menu.
Speed slider on the bottom of the debug menu. Oh, I see.
It starts at 0.9, by the way.
Well, there it is. It's at 5. That's gonna be.
Oh god,
cartoonish.
now you're super gonna speed.
Yeah, I'm gonna get pulled over. It's gonna be horrible. Damage, magnet. I probably need magnet if I'm gonna be skittering this much. Let's see, damage.
You can probably take.
Yeah, let's just wait. Hold on a second. We gotta go.
Okay, and press F3 one more time, and then check that box that says spawn enabled as well. Okay, now you're maxed out. Okay, cool. Okay, F3. Spawn enabled in the middle there.
Spawn enabled in the middle.
It's about halfway down, below crate spawner.
Create spawner, spawn enabled.
Left-hand side debug menu.
Yeah, I got it.
Down 2, down 1, that one. Okay, and then click create spawner.
Create spawner.
That button.
Yep.
Okay, and then you can resume after you've clicked that.
Okay.
That basically just says, hey, spawning's back on after death turned it off, and then it creates a new spawner that will activate. You can see the minimap is expanded out now because the minimap is based on fog range.
That's funny. Actually,
so it might actually.
affect the
it's
spawn?
funny. You might need to turn. You might need to turn fog down because now the enemies it's spawning a lot, but they're spawning so far away from you.
That's what I was. That's what I was gonna ask. I'm gonna set
based
it
on your
to
range.
here actually. Wait, no.
Yeah. Since you're OP, you can probably super lower it.
Well,
so now they're gonna spawn right outside your range.
I wanted
That's
to.
really funny.
Okay, so you have a damaged player button. I'm assuming that does a preset hard-coded value.
I think that's gonna kill you.
Yeah, I think that will kill me. I was gonna be like, well, if I can enter a value, I could make it negative, right? But no.
Heal yourself? No, unfortunately not.
God damn it.
I do have more comprehensive stuff in now too. This, by the way, actually, I should have mentioned this. This was one of the biggest takeaways. This IMGUI implementation for GameMaker was one of the biggest productivity increases for me on this jam. Having this menu, but also the game is built. Oh shit!
Spooky, very spooky.
I built out the UI with this IMGUI system first. So like initially your upgrades were using this menu on the left-hand side, and like just all the UI was through this, and it just allowed me to make the game without having to worry about how the UI worked, how the UI looked. It just allowed me to like iterate, like, and work on the game immediately. And I'm going to be using this on every single project I ever worked on. It was such a huge boon for me.
Yeah, like one of the first things that I want to do when I do anything, it's like you said, you need systems, especially when you've got ADHD and all likeliness, asterisk for me. But like one of the first things that I want to do is set up debug infrastructure to make it just easier to work on things. Just to keep focused. I'm trying to play this fucking card, but it's... Can I just like hit play card?
There is a play card button.
Does it play the card that I'm just currently
very
on?
top, yeah. It'll play the active card, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Cheat mode. Give me that XP. I don't really need it, but you know. Perish.
You're now so strong. You're now so far above the curve that yeah, you're not even gonna get a chance to see these guys really. Yeah, this is the point of Vampire Survivors. Imagine you have 3 more weapons beyond these, and they're all maxed out, and then they're all evolved to do like extra things. And
yeah,
it just gets to be where you don't even see enemies; you just see projectiles. Like literally, the screen is just projectiles.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Winner! Wow. Okay, you got the first winner died state.
Nice.
Interesting.
I'll get that tattooed across my back.
Winner died. You got it.
Nice. Well, very cool game. And again, this is Terra Survivors by GrogDev here. Plans on making it a full release, ostensibly on Steam. So I guess we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say, if you don't mind, is actually I do plan on, I actually yesterday worked on getting, not the Steam page up, but the game on Steam so I can do playtesting. So if anybody's interested, and this goes, if you want to play it as well again anymore, I can send you a Steam code for beta.
Yeah,
because I want to implement playtesting throughout the process as I make this further. So
yeah, you've learned your lesson.
For sure.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you so much for playing it. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely no issues. And like you gave me the console, so and also the strats, so it was absolutely a breeze. It was very fun to play.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I will definitely be giving you a follow. So once again, if anybody would like to, Terra Survivors on itch and also on Steam apparently. Make sure you plug whatever it is that they would need to access like any codes or anything, because like I don't know how to do that.
Oh man, so I don't even know. I don't have anything up. I'm planning to have that all ready for in the post jam. So probably I guess keep an eye out on my itch page, because then I'll link to probably my Discord, and I'm at GrogDev basically everywhere on Twitter, Twitch. My website is grog.dev, although there might be out-of-date stuff on there.
Yeah, it's right there on the bottom of the screen. Code art by @GrogDev.
Yeah,
and then also amazing job by Toftacular as well.
Yeah, he's insane, really good. But yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll see each other around, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we'll talk later.